All right, time to get some fresh news on Truth Broadcast Network here. So adjusting the audio levels looks good, and we're going to zoom out, see what's come in recently by clicking on breaking. Pentagon spent millions studying how to influence social media. If you do not understand by now, what is the Army Psychological Operations patch say on it? Let's go right now to Google Images and put in Army PSYOP patch. Enter. Images. Click. And what you'll find right there, persuade, change, influence. I've told you many times, and you can look this up. The military and the Army, in fact, has psychological operations specialists embedded not just overseas, but with the news media here in the United States. CNN already apologized for it, said they wouldn't do it again, and of course they are still doing it. Nothing's changed, but it's worse than that. There are psychological operations specialists embedded with your local television news station if you live in a decently large city. If you don't, they're just feeding off the same BS they get somewhere else. So to see a headline that says Pentagon spent millions studying how to influence social media, I mean, if that comes as a surprise to you, you have not been paying attention. You need to look at everything. You walk into a movie theater, your mind should be thinking, what are they trying to make me think? What are they trying to make me feel? What are they trying to make me believe? Because they are trying to change, influence, and persuade you everywhere you go and everything you do, including, if not especially, on social media, because you can be compartmentalized to a much greater degree on social media. In a movie theater, they got a whole theater. So they're going to try and mind control 100 people at the same time. But on your Facebook page, you're so compartmentalized, you don't even understand it. Your news feed is just for you. Everybody's not getting that. And you don't know if what you post is... I'm not even going into it. You're more compartmentalized, and so that is the forefront of where they're trying to change, persuade, and influence you. Of course, DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project. I don't remember what the A is. Moving along. Illegal immigration protesters in Arizona are set to challenge federal SWAT teams. Okay, so evidently some sort of showdown. I think we'll check this one out. This is probably Dabu 7.
For people paying attention to the mainstream media, you're missing some of these small victories that are taking place. I reported here within the past week how the feds were planning on taking SWAT teams and riot gear to California, to Murrieta, California, to get these buses of people in. Well, you never heard really another word of it, and because we don't have a good set of eyes and ears on the ground down here, you got to kind of wait till things just kind of come around. And
now, you heard what he said there. We're a long ways down the road. He knows it, and I know it. We still don't have a good set of eyes and ears on the ground. Now, I did interview Cassandra Rules. Cassandra Rules is the name that she goes by, and you can find that on the network by, well, let's just go to, let's say you click on the live stream. The broadcasts show up on the right-hand side, and it's up here on top under Scheduled Network Broadcasts. I'll cut the stream there, but you see right there, interview of outspoken activist Cassandra Rules on the border crisis. She is there in Murrieta. Alex Jones says Marietta, but that's Marietta, Ohio. This is more like Murrieta. Murrieta. And I don't really care, you know, but it's Murrieta. There's the interview. It is on the network. I don't have time to put the link in the description because this is all automatically done. But if you go to truthbroadcastnetwork.com, you can find that interview of truth activist Cassandra at Murrieta, California, and you'll get a lot of good information right there from two eyes and two ears right there on the ground.
And what they're stating now is that there was a victory there by the people that the feds never did bring in concrete barriers. They never attempted none of that stuff they threatened, and that the people won. And because of that, these people in Oracle, Arizona have picked up steam from it, and they're fighting for the sake of their town, because the federal government is planning to relocate another 40 unaccompanied alien children to an already packed facility in Sycamore Canyon Academy.
Okay, now I know you guys are going to think, well, this guy interrupts the broadcast too much, but I got to do what I got to do. Okay, I'm adding important information here, and I built the network for a very good reason, because I'm uniquely positioned to do this. We're going to Google, because the most important thing for you to understand about all of this is that the federal government created this situation. They put out bidding in January. Government confirms authenticity of contract request for escort services for unaccompanied alien children at the border. Do you understand the ramifications of this information? Your alleged government, which is of course controlled by the evil New World Order, put out bidding for an escort service to bring these children into the country. And this isn't recently discovered, as disinformation website The Blaze says. This is not recently discovered. Maybe Glenn Beck just figured it out, but we've known this for a long time. An allegedly recently discovered government request for escort services for unaccompanied alien children, or UAC, is what it says in the contract, dating back to January, is raising question about whether the government was planning for a surge of illegal immigrants, blah, blah, blah. This is an engineered situation. This is a created situation. Now start asking yourself, why did they create it?
Houses all of these people. Now, the person that they're talking about here that is standing up to be the leader for this town is Robert Skiba. Now, I'm not sure if this is the same Rob Skiba from YouTube, but if it is, you may have to do a little bit of digging into the situation here. I know that this was a man that was selling books and information, and when I came across the Rob Skiba on YouTube, he was trying to sell conspiracy stuff to people. So, and that's what I got out of it. He was one of them guys that had this big story. If you wanted to find out more, you had to buy the book. See, one of those. It may not be the same guy, though. And if it's not...
Well, I mean, that's a pretty rare last name, I would think. Federal government planning to relocate 40 UAC into an already packed facility in Sycamore Canyon Academy that houses wards of the state, according to Robert Skiba of Oracle, Arizona. So I think the point to keep in mind is we can't confirm if this is true because it's coming from Robert Skiba. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It's not coming from any purported media outlet. It's not coming from any purported government agency. It's just coming from a first name and a last name that we're already suspect of.
That's probably a good thing. But if it is, you better look at who they're putting into place around some of these towns that are seeing a lot of high-profile activity between the citizens and the feds. Now, the feds back down in Marietta. Doesn't mean they won't attempt to go back at some point, but they also backed down at the Bundy Ranch when the people stepped up. Now, if the people here in Oracle can stand strong and force another back down, that'll be 3 for 3 right there. So I'm going to say that anyone out there in Arizona that can hear me, I know that Christopher Green, AMTV, that he's stationed in Arizona. This would be something that I think guys like that should be all over, man, in their own backyard. And a lot of action here, people to talk to interview, get their thoughts, opinions. footage, eyes and ears on the ground that we can trust, you know, it's hard to come by. I tried to state some of that in the channel update video that got removed from my channel. But basically what I was stating is I did find somebody down in the Texas area that was willing to do what they could. They can't do a whole lot. Family guy, wants to remain anonymous, but willing to go as far as he can to get some information in places. He's in Texas, so different environment, different atmosphere, and we went ahead and we got him some funds together to help him out on some gas money to getting around and potentially a hotel down there. And at that rate, hopefully he could turn up some good footage, some information here. I mean, it's worth a shot. But Arizona, you have a battle in your backyard here, Oracle. I'd say anyone in Arizona, if you're looking for action to be a part of something, this.
Okay, Oracle, Arizona. I'm going to take a look at the map now because I know where Mark Kessler and his militiamen are meeting up at. Let's see, that was Oracle. I did not, major in geography. So I've got to go to Google Maps. Whoops, that's images. Go to Google Maps, Oracle, Arizona, and then Kessler's militia is meeting in Sierra Vista. So let's zoom out. There's Oracle. I guess that yellow dashed line is the city limits. Zooming out of Oracle. Again, looking for Sierra Vista. Of course, Chris Davis and his men, if that's really happening, are in Laredo, Texas. Oh, looky there. There's Sierra Vista. Let's zoom back in now that I see that. Not sure why I didn't before. So we see Sierra Vista and Oracle are not far apart. Not far apart at all. So let's put it in here. Directions. SIERRA. Sierra Vista to Oracle, Arizona. And it is 2 hours. 2-hour drive. So, looking at the map, Mark Kessler's guys are meeting up in Sierra Vista, and this new event is happening in Oracle, Arizona, 2 hours to the north. I think that it's just important that we keep the big picture in mind here. It's going to end up, I guarantee you, as this progresses, it's going to end up looking just like a major battle plan. We're going to have a map on the wall and a bunch of tacks all over it representing where our militias are, where the feds are, where the aliens are crossing, and just go on down the list. That's what's building up here. In other words, the southern border is becoming a military buildup. It is what it is. And I didn't make it. You didn't make it. You didn't build that.
This is the place to be. There's plenty of people down here making a stand, and the power is in the number of people. So I'm telling you, you don't have to say a single word. You don't have to do a single thing. Just your presence dominates. Do not forget that. I'll leave links. Till next time, this has been Tapu 7.
All right, now.
Eyes open.
Yeah, keep your eyes open. To be clear, when you're on Truth Broadcast Network, it will automatically play the videos. If you want to see the links Right down there, it says YouTube. You can click on that. That'll take you to the original video on YouTube so you can see the description in the channel. The text write-up will always appear here. Oh, no, actually, there it is. So the links are on Truth Broadcast Network. I'm sorry. Network's a little better than I thought it was. All right, so moving on, what else is in the news? Now, this is a video that I made, I think it was tonight. Alleged patriots repeat talking points. Are they even real? Now, what do I mean by this? Well, looking at this video, and I'm going to look at it briefly. Someone, and I'm not going to say who, invited me to, I guess, listen to and maybe call into this blog talk radio show. And you know I'm not a fan of blog talk. And so I checked it out briefly, as much as I could stand to.
And I'm going to explain something to you, and I'm not taking any partisan sides here. I'm just explaining to you American law.
Absolutely.
Believe it or not, those 9 people up there in that pretty stone building in Washington run this nation. What they say is final. They come across.
So when I checked it out, what I found was the same talking in circles, the same inaction, the same almost Monsanto this, the Supreme Court that. And so, you know, I had tuned in thinking maybe there's going to be somebody who is in the militia down there on this broadcast. There wasn't. I'm not going to go any deeper than that. It pissed me off. I shut it off, and I determined we've got to have people talking about logistics. And it makes you wonder, it should make you wonder, when you've got people talking in circles, talking about the same thing they were talking about a decade ago, even 20 years ago. Are they really working for freedom? Or are they just repeating talking points? Are they following a script to keep you spinning your wheels, to keep you running around in circles instead of doing anything effective? Now, we got this issue here. Border crisis exposed. Ad offers $6,000 per month to house for minors, for housing minors. This is just despicable. And I don't even know that they're going to check the people out. You know, like they're just going to hand them off to anybody. You got a bedroom, here's a kid. Now, the other thing you're hearing is a lot of these aren't even kids. So, a lot of corruption, a lot of bad stuff going on in relation to these things, not the least of which is incentivizing people to make that journey through Central America, where a lot of them are dying on the way. Hamas accidentally destroys their own power grid. 70,000 people without power in Gaza. Now, I guess Israel thinks that you're fucking retarded, don't they? Israel is bombing Gaza right now, as we speak. They're bombing Gaza. And then they release a headline, Hamas accidentally destroys their own power grid. That's just unreal. Of course, you've got the, Berlin fans watch Germany versus Argentina. What is that even doing on here? I don't have time to look into it. You know, I watched this movie last night, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And the movie was extremely good. Extremely good movie. It portrays, though, a false flag attack. You know how they had Caesar and he was the leader of the apes? Well, Caesar was shot, and just like Hitler burned down his own Reichstag, his, Caesar's second in command burnt down the place where the apes lived. I mean, it was like the Reichstag fire depicted, but the apes were doing it. And I'm just like, is anybody seeing this for what it is? But it was a great movie. My other comment on that is I'm trying to keep it brief, and I'm sorry I cannot play the preview because they'll ban the video from YouTube. It ended with Caesar, the leader of the apes, and, you know, some guy that's like was trying to work with them, but it just didn't work out. So they're splitting up, going separate ways. The war's started now. I feel what's coming with this. And that is going to be, and maybe it'll be 2 movies from now or 3 movies from now. Either an ape is going to give birth to a human, or a human is going to give birth to an ape. That's what's coming in this series. And it's not just this one. They're going to be incrementally stepping up the idea of crossing the species boundary. And that's going to be one of the main purposes for this series, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So that's all we have for breaking news. Let's click on breaking again just to see if anything came in while we were talking. And yes, Argentina riot police clash with fans after World Cup loss to Germany. This came in literally 1 minute ago. Let's look at a bunch of retards. Because, I mean, come on, it's a freaking game. These people should be fighting the New World Order. These people should be overthrowing the corruption and the tyranny in their own governments and in their own lives. And instead, they're brawling over a soccer game. They're not even men.
And riots have broke loose here in the Argentine capital after Argentina loses 1-0 to Germany in the World Cup final.
I mean, can you imagine the stupidity of these people? Now, I saw something else, I don't know, YouTube, TV, somewhere where I was eating, but it was like Mud Day somewhere. Mud Day. And I guess on Mud Day, all these people go out and they roll around in the mud. Now, don't get me wrong. I live down south, and it was a big deal to go, you know, 4-wheel driving in the mud. And, you know, I've done that. And there's a guy that opened his property every Sunday, and we'd pay like $5 a vehicle to get in there and drive all over the place and get towed out by a tractor when we got stuck and stuff. But I'm talking, this Mud Day was just people rolling around in the mud, literally like pigs. And I can see the evil New World Order looking at this and assuring themselves of how far superior they are from these people that they already equate to animals. They already speak about you as if you're an animal. The word human, it's not man, it's sub-man. Human, sub-man. They believe that you're an animal. And they believe that a people or a world of people who do not use their intelligence, but instead roll around in the mud like pigs, who do not use their intelligence or do not have intelligence or know better than animals who do not have intelligence and thus are stakes on the table by choice and consent. So, by getting all upset that some soccer team lost a game by 1 point, you're an animal, and they will eat you.
Now, the police are using water cannons, tear gas, all types of means to try to subdue the people here. But upset people, throwing rocks, rioting, breaking stuff, smashing windows. And as you can see from this live feed, it's a little choppy, but the people still in the streets and still fighting back. They look like they're still full of energy, and it doesn't look like this is going to die down anytime soon. So I'll leave a link so you guys can watch this live feed and watch as this either dies down or escalates.
Now, the thing you got to wonder is, what are they fighting for? What on the face of the earth are they fighting for? How is it not going to die down? Why would it escalate? Why would anybody want to watch it? These are just a bunch of morons. And they even have a word for it. They're called soccer hooligans. Did you know that? All right, let's check what in my opinion is the second most important category, the PSYOP category. I want to tell you, I'm not 100% sure about living on Planet Z. I haven't had time to check them out. So if you guys want to provide feedback about living on Planet Z here under the PSYOP tab, yeah, do that. Free Agent Media, I've checked out a little bit. Looks good and reliable. Team Wake 'em Up, I've always found to be very reliable. If you click on the PSYOP tab, you're going to get all three. So we're just going to click the PSYOP tab to see what comes up. While I'd like to get more information in relation to these militia events that are going on, we're not going to get that because the information is not being made available, so it cannot be examined. It cannot be critiqued. Oh, goodness. So all of the interviews with Cassandra are coming up under here. And there's really nothing new under the PSYOP tab. People just haven't posted anything new. So we also have the Insights tab, and we have a lot of talented people here. Josie Outlaw, Julie Borowski, The Political Poor, Storm Clouds Gathering, Patriot Nurse I'm not too big on because she's more a Tea Party type person. Christopher Green's just getting too loud. Russel Brand, he tends to finish his videos with a little bit of Luciferian talking points, a little bit of New Age stuff. So they're all kind of iffy. But let's click on Insights because that'll give us all of those rolled up in one. We click on Insights here on Truth Broadcast Network and scrolling down, and I did here, and I actually haven't seen anything on this. We're going to Google it actually because I've gotten a report that pneumonic plague is in Colorado now. This is just something we're going to have to Google. PN, and that's about as far as I get in knowing how to spell pneumonia. Pneumonic plague. PNEUMONIC. And I guess it's Colorado Springs. And here we go. News for pneumonic plague, Colorado Springs. Looks like a guy and his dog had it. Maybe or maybe not.
For the first time in
all right, we have a video here. And this is a report that I got, but I haven't seen or read anything on it yet. So let's check this out. I'm not saying this is brought into the country by illegal aliens or by immigrants. I'm not saying that. But this information is important.
a decade, a Colorado resident is being treated for the pneumonic plague. State health officials say that tests confirm the plague in the unidentified patient and the family's dog who recently died unexpectedly.
So fleas from rodents, especially prairie dogs, spread this plague. Officials say they may have contracted it in eastern Adams County. So Dr. John joins us now to talk more about this disease, which, I mean, this is no laughing matter. This is very serious. It can be deadly.
And this is very serious. And what we normally talk about is the bubonic plague, starting with a B.
Yeah.
That's different from what this is, which is the pneumonic plague. And the difference is the bubonic plague, we see that every summer. And people tend to get it, especially if they're in the foothills or there are animals going to foothills and there's prairie dogs, rodents, squirrels, rabbits. Those kinds of things could be sick. If you get near those, you could get the bubonic plague. And that usually means a bubo, which is basically a swelling of a lymph node. Okay. The other one is septicemic plague, where that gets inside the bloodstream. And then there's the pneumonic plague, which gets to the lungs. Those are the three main ones we talk about.
Why it would be connected to almost pneumonia, pneumonic pneumonia.
Exactly. It sounds just like it. It's the air in the lungs they talk about.
And the typical symptoms, besides, what did you call them?
Bubos.
Bubos?
Right, and that's where bubonic comes from. It's a Latin term, bubo, which basically is a swollen lymph node. The swollen lymph node that you get, is just part of the picture. Overall, you can see there fevers and chills, nausea, vomiting, headaches, and muscle aches. That's for all types of plague. But then when you get to the bubonic plague, that can become a little bit different. That's when you get that bubo on top of these types of symptoms. The bubo is basically a swollen lymph node. It can be in the groin, the neck, armpits, anywhere there's a lymph node, fevers and chills, headaches, and malaise. And then the one he has, which is pneumonic plague, that basically starts with fever, nausea, vomiting. You can get this bloody cough and breathing issues. The concern with pneumonic plague, and that's why we're bringing this up, is once it hits the pneumonic plague state, it's like tuberculosis or any other lung disease. It can spread person to person. And that's what happened in the Middle Ages with the Black Death. Not only did the rats give it to people, but people gave it to other people, and that caused the problem. And so that's the concern here. It is, without treatment, 90% fatal.
My goodness, and it's important that people have it on their radar, because some of the symptoms you're talking about, you wouldn't think too much about. I have a headache, I feel nauseous, and then when it starts to escalate is when you say it can be contagious, and you've really got to know you're looking for something that's
You do,
not
and
just...
a couple big clues. One, if you start getting swollen lymph nodes, obviously that's a big clue. If you start having, coughing up some bloody stuff, that can be a big clue too. But the other big clue is if you have animals, if you have pets, and the pets are sick as well, and you had recently been in the foothills or somewhere where these rodents or prairie dogs could be, that's a big clue that something might be happening. Go talk to your doctor. The other thing is what they're trying to do with this gentleman here, the Colorado Department of Public Health, is saying that contacts of his need to be checked as well because they need to be placed on antibiotics. It's, again, very, very serious disease.
How common is this in the United States?
This is very, very uncommon. It has not happened very much, especially the pneumonic plague. Like you said, 10 years ago was the last time. Every year we do get bubonic plague, and you can see here, this is the plagues that have been reported not just in Colorado but around the United States. Those are mostly human plagues, which are mostly bubonic plague. The pneumonic plague doesn't happen much. That's since 1970.
So interesting that it's Colorado West.
And what happens is it basically came to California in 1900. We didn't have it before then. Came on the rats. People got it, spread it to the Southwest, but prairie dogs, think where prairie dogs are. They're the biggest carrier. They're in the Southwest.
So we avoid prairie dogs?
Prairie dogs, squirrels, rabbits, anything, especially if the animal's sick. And make sure children understand that too, because children tend to be the ones that get it a lot because they don't understand. They want to take care of the sick animal. That's just human nature. Be careful with that, especially in the summer.
Boy, that's ugly stuff.
It is. It is. And again, it can be deadly. In other parts of the world, there's even more cases, and it's even
Have you come across it in your practice down there?
I have seen it, not in my practice, but when I was a resident, I was down in Albuquerque, we saw it down there quite a bit, so it happens.
Yes, it does.
All right.
Dr. John, you're...
It's funny watching them people fake like they give a shit, It's sick. Watch this. They fake like they give a shit.
Albuquerque, we saw it down there quite a bit, so it happens.
Yes, it does.
All right.
Dr. John, you are enlightening and informing.
All right. So let's see what else is. Where's the web page? Here we go. Julie Burrows, she put out a good video here, and we're going to go ahead and roll it, and I think that's going to wrap us up. Maybe we're going to give Russel Brand a little play here. I don't normally play him because he ends with Luciferian talking points, but the moment he busts that stuff out, click, we'll shut him off. So let's check out Julie Borowski, who I've seen this one does make a good point. I don't remember what it is or what it's about, but it's a good video. And it should be coming up.
I am just outraged about the Supreme Court's Hobby Lobby decision on birth control. Thankfully, Harry Reid has introduced a bill in the Senate to reverse the decision. As Harry Reid said, women's lives should not be determined by virtue of 5 white men. We're talking Justices Roberts, Scalia, Kennedy, Alito, Clarence Thomas, all 5 white men. Harry Reid isn't like that. I just feel so bad for Hobby Lobby employees. I heard that you're actually forced to work there at Hobby Lobby. You have no choice in the matter. You have to work at the arts and crafts store. You can't quit. You can't find another job. You're trapped. You're required to work at Hobby Lobby in the spool section for the rest of your life. Just a shame that Hobby Lobby is imposing their radical Christian beliefs on the whole nation. Like, number 1, don't impose your views on other people. Come on. The exception is if your views are correct, and, well, mine are, so Yeah, the owners of Hobby Lobby, they can have their own personal views or whatever. This is America after all. But my views trump theirs because my views are more correct than theirs. The owners of Hobby Lobby, they're allowed to oppose certain forms of birth control because of religion or whatever. But the government should still force them to pay for it because their views are less correct than mine. And, you know, people should do as I say. They apparently oppose a couple forms of birth control like the morning after pill. Okay, but if they don't pay for their employees' Plan B pills, where are they supposed to get it? Does anyone realize that they are denying Plan B to women, essentially banning it? Because the only way that you can get Plan B is through your boss. It's not like, oh, you can just walk into a store and buy it. Duh. Do bosses understand that women's birth control is none of their business? Of course, they should be required by law to pay and provide for it, but besides that, it's none of their business and they should just butt out. It reminds me of my boss, who is a complete jerk. I am homeless right now because of him. Homeless. He will not pay for my rent. I keep saying that there needs to be a law that forces bosses to pay for their employees' rent. I tell him and he's like, I pay your paycheck every 2 weeks. Why don't you use that money to pay for your rent? How rude, right? I mean, you're my boss. You're supposed to be involved in all my life decisions. I can't just pay for my rent on my own. Just really a sad day for America.
Well, I gotta tell you, that kind of reminded me of my niece a little bit, especially the way it finished there.
Life decisions. I can't just pay for your rent. How rude, right? I mean, you're my boss. You're supposed to be involved in all my life decisions. I can't just pay for my rent on my own. Just really a sad day for America.
Good video there from Julie Borowski. And I wish I knew. I don't know if she's got a website. I did just Google Julie Borowski, Borowski. I'm not going to be able to keep up with the various sources that we have here on the network. And we're going to finish up with Russel Brand and the Trues. This is an individual that's quite perplexing, but he's got a sweet intro. And that's really his dog.
Trues on the move. Today we're talking about that hunting thing, that pretty cheerleader lady on Facebook that's been killing the population of a zoo. Let's have a look at Fox's coverage of this.
Well, after a firestorm of criticism on the internet, negative comments, even death threats, Kendall Jones, the Texas teen hunter, is firing back. She insists her hunts, in fact, do a lot of good. Here to explain the truth behind these big game hunts.
Here to explain the truth behind it. Right, there's been a lot of conjecture and argument. Now, finally, let's get to some objective truth. That's how Fox present all information, like it's the objective truth. Well, they say, here's another opinion that's in line with the general way we see the world. If by now you haven't picked up that that's evil, then I don't know what channel you've been watching.
It's hunter and author Craig Boddington. Craig, thanks a lot for joining us this morning. So, you find
thanks very much, Tucker. It's good to be here.
Thank you.
Look at one murder, didn't they, with politeness, these people? Thank you very much.
Tell us what the reality is of these hunts.
Then I don't know what channel you've been watching.
It's hunter and author Craig Boddington. Craig, thanks a lot for joining us this morning. So, you find
thanks very much, Tucker. It's good to be here.
Thank you.
Look at one murder, didn't they, with politeness, these people? Thank you very much.
Tell us what the reality is of these hunts.
Well, you know, whether it's elsewhere in the world or here in the United States, the reality is that hunters pay for the majority of wildlife management and conservation, and you know, there is no alternative funding.
By funding this Holocaust, we're allowing other Jews to live in a well-managed environment. Can you imagine what would happen if we were to execute these Jews? They'd be all over the place. All this really is, and this is where I intersect with them, hunting things is fun, isn't it? Like, say you've got a gun or a bow and arrow or whatever. For a while, it's really good fun to shoot something that ain't moving, right? And then after a while, you think, oh, it'd be so much fun to shoot a bird. But then what should happen at that point is a little voice in your head, a bit like Jiminy Cricket in Pinocchio, will go, but Russell, that bird, that's a creature like you. If you kill it, it'll be all sad. And you go, fuck, alright, I won't kill it then. Now, if at that point another voice comes in that sort of sounds a bit like Bill O'Reilly and goes, do kill it! That's amazing! You'll feel fantastic afterwards. That, like, you've let evil win. I mean, it's fun. I recognise it's fun. But don't build like sort of a moral and economic and ecological argument behind it to justify it. The only hunting of animals that is ecologically apposite is indigenous carnivorous hunting. So like a tiger eating a deer, fair enough. If you start going, you fiend, then that's, you know, then you're being too sentimental. But once you start, 200 million animals a year are killed for recreation. 200 million, can you imagine that in a great big pile? Can you imagine the blood, the feathers, the fur, the death, the broken beaks, the cries of agony, the dispersed energy? Can't be right, can it? Yes, it can. This is how.
In Africa and elsewhere in the third world, hunting revenues from visiting sportsmen and women.
They use the term sport. The literal definition of sport means an activity where two consensual parties participate. Right, I'm ready. Good.
are really critical to managing wildlife.
Managing wildlife? It's wild. Don't need managing. Leave it alone.
The direct revenues from hunting and the local employment that safaris bring to town are really important in turning what might otherwise be dangerous nuisance animals into a valuable...
Managing wildlife? It's wild. Don't need managing. Leave it alone.
The direct revenue...
Now, all right, if you look at this girl, you're looking at a young blonde and cheerleader. She's literally a cheerleader. And this has been created or made into a controversy by the powers that be. Okay, they're the ones that choose what gets put on TV. And if you don't believe me, look at how hard Howard Neiman was plugging away at the Mark Bowles situation, broadcast after broadcast after broadcast. Did that get covered anywhere, ever? No. That doesn't get covered, but this does. What we're looking at here most likely is a psychological operation. And one of the ways that you can cite a psychological operation is by its counterbalance. What I'm explaining to you here is something that nobody really knows yet, except probably the people who carry out these psychological operations. The counterbalance is, imagine two people sitting on a seesaw. And you could even say the American people are the pivot in the middle. There has to be a counterbalance, even if it is, there's our mystery ding, even if it is fictitious, even if it is irrelevant, even if it is even silly. There has to be a counterbalance, and this relates to human psychology. This can't be the only thing in your mind that relates to a person killing an animal in the news. There has to be something else there. And what is it? Well, I'm going to show you. And here it is. And you may have seen this post on Facebook. People think Steven Spielberg killed a triceratops. Oops, I clicked on something. Let me go back. I tried to keep the news short, but it's just difficult. People think Steven Spielberg killed a triceratops. The Facebook post was clearly a joke, seeing that dinosaurs no longer existed, but the comments raised some concerns about how aware people are of that fact. Now, notice the date, July 12. In other words, it's the same time period. So at the same time that you're getting this stuff here in the mainstream media, you're getting this stuff here. person posing with a very rare dead animal. They're extremely rare because they're all gone. There are no more. And you have this woman posing with an antelope or with a zebra or who knows what else. I don't pay any attention to this crap. This is the counterbalance. When you see the counterbalance, that tells you you're looking at a psyop. I'm not going to go too much more into that for several reasons, not the least of which is I want you thinking. I want you figuring it out. I don't want to give everybody all the answers every time. And frankly, I don't have all the answers every time. So let's see what Russel's got to say.
News from hunting and the local employment that safaris bring to town are really important in turning what might otherwise be dangerous nuisance animals into a valuable resource.
How come this girl here, Kendall, the attractive girl that's the source of all this hullabaloo, she looks so pleased while she's next to that dead rhino?
It places value on the animals, and hunting also deters poaching by meat distribution.
Yes.
And by reducing human-animal conflict. So it really is absolutely critical to wildlife management.
What I don't like is the reverse engineering of morality in all these circumstances. What they do is basically what they want to do. And then they go, right, how could this unacceptable thing be acceptable? What if we say it's like management and it's controlling poaching and it actually helps the animals to kill them? People surely wouldn't believe that. We can't say that out loud, can we? What if God's watching? Let's just do it. See what happens. And then they do it. That's the whole of Fox News.
You know, the phototourism industry is a wonderful industry, but photo safaris are conducted in well-manicured parks, and hunters go to marginal lands where hunting is really virtually the only way to realize value out of these animals.
Do you not need to realise value? Just leave things alone. What's your whole system based on? See that tree? Yeah, it's magnificent, isn't it? No, it's not realised any value. What about its beauty? Can't really spend beauty unless we shoot the tree. Stop trying to realise value. Stop making the defining philosophy of our time a kind of alchemy to turn nature, wonder and glory into money.
It really is very, very important in these countries of origin.
So what would happen to, say, the rhino population or the cheetah population if there were no more big game hunting allowed in Africa?
Well, lots of things could happen, mate. What you could do is have a conservation-based program where the environment's protected and they're allowed to live in an ecological sphere untroubled by man. If that happened, the populations would grow and maintain itself as it did for millions of years before man intervened. That's what would happen. Will that be the answer that we're given by this man who looks like a villain in an Indiana Jones film?
The revenues are really, really important in funding the anti-poaching efforts and maintaining the viability of this species.
So what do you make of the response that she got, that Kendall Jones got to her Facebook pictures? Facebook apparently, without her permission, pulled them right off the site. And she received death threats. Is that a majority view, or are you surprised?
It's totally amazing to me. I mean, in context...
Oh my God, she's killed something magnificent. There she is, cuddling a dead leopard. Holy shit.
I can't imagine another legal and internationally sanctioned activity that would result in death threats to a 19-year-old who participated fully legally with her parents. I mean, imagine another legal and internationally sanctioned activity that would...
Now, come on. She is wearing full-on eyeshadow and lipstick. I don't even know that that's a real photo. This looks more like it's green screened. Dark eyeshadow and lipstick. I can't tell you the exact truth of this situation, but she's allegedly posing with an animal she just killed. Did she hunt with the makeup on the whole time? Did she kill the zebra and say, okay, we're going to take the photo now. Let me put on my makeup first. I mean, what the fuck? Or is it all BS?
result in death threats to a 19-year-old who participated fully legally with her parents.
I mean, a death threat is not as bad as a death, is it? She's doing actual deaths. Now, of course, from our anthropocentric philosophy, human life is worth more than any other kind of life. But that might not be totally true. Like, there is much less of them, cheetahs and leopards and rhinos and everything, than there are of us. In a way, in a purely mathematical way, human beings are much more expendable. And it's seemingly from the treatment from organisations that Fox is aligned with. Human life is expendable in terms of this poverty, inequality. So I don't fully understand how a death threat to this brutal young lady is comparable to her actual crimes.
The latest, the 2013 survey commissioned by the National Shooting Sports Foundation indicates that 79% of Americans approve of legal hunting.
Yeah, but that survey, the way that would have been manufactured, what you do is you guide people towards the conclusion that you want them to have. You go, would you agree that human beings eating animals is natural? Yes. Do you think a world in which human beings couldn't eat animals would be unnatural? Yes. Do you think that hunting could play a part in the ethical culling of animals? Yes. Do you agree with hunting? Yes. So that's how we reach that conclusion. There ain't nothing wrong with us behaving in a human and natural way, and I suppose we do naturally hunt animals. But when we ourselves are farmed, when humanity has become this bizarre construction, this peculiar zoo, the recreational murder of 200 million animals, ain't cool, is it? Just ask it. Remember, there's a voice in your head. Talk to the voice in your head. Don't listen to me, I'm a maniac, but the voice in your head, ask it. Is it right to kill 200 million animals simply for fun? What did it say? Right, there you go.
You've taken your girls hunting?
I have.
When he says girls, I like to imagine he's talking about his testicles, that he just calls them his girls. Oh yeah, I take my girls hunting. Come on, girls, let's do some hunting. And if you imagine that, it makes this clip more enjoyable.
I have. I took both my girls hunting when they hunted earlier, but I took them to Africa when they were 17, and they've enjoyed the experience. They came away with a much better sense of how wildlife management works in the real world, and certainly they did hunt, and I think they came away with a much better sense of how wildlife management works in the real world, and certainly it was a broadening and enlightening experience.
Do you see any irony in abhorring violence so much that you threaten to kill someone over it?
It's not news. They're just managing an argument the whole time, like this guy here. Like he's always saying, like he's like the survey that would have produced those results. They just manage a narrative so that the only conclusion that you can legitimately reach is the conclusion they want you to have.
I genuinely don't understand it, but I must say that to some extent the media really has caused this. I mean, Tucker, you're a journalist, and I'm a journalist in my little world, and you know it's incumbent upon us to get our facts right.
Don't take the piss, mate. It's incumbent upon us to get our facts right. As right as possible. So right, in fact, that if we went any further right, we'd be fucking Hitler.
Kendall's been widely shown with a photograph of a leopard, which has been identified on national media as a cheetah. There's a significant difference in appearance.
There is. I mean, cheetahs are great guys. In spite of their names, they don't ever cheat. They're very trustworthy little fellas. Whereas a leopard, well, you know what I'm saying. It'll never change its spots. We gave it a chance. It didn't. We shot it.
Greg Boddington joining us live from Los Angeles this morning. Thanks a lot for coming on this morning. It was really interesting.
Hey, thanks a million. Appreciate being here.
Thanks.
The reason Fox News is dangerous because this story demonstrates how they'll use language and ideas to convey a version of reality that's really, really duplicitous and dishonest. Like, I know the feeling, so that it's not like I don't understand. It is. If you've played with a gun, it's brilliant fun. The feeling is normal, like all of these impulses. But what kind of world do we want? Do we want a world where we cultivate these negative impulses, where we take them to their most extreme conclusion, where there's a holocaust of animals annually conducted, or do we want to try and move towards our better nature? Fox News wants us to be the worst possible version of humanity, and they sell it as the only possible version. That's why it's an evil network. Of course it is. Look at the people that work on it, look at the people that own it, look at the reasons they do it.